His arm gets caught in the loom. There's a big, big whistle. All the looms are stopped. And Herschel, in the last scene, sits in front of a big, big safe full of money, and he's counting his money. It's a most remarkable scene. And when he walks in, the father of the young man whose arm was caught in the loom and who has died because of the loss of blood. And Herschel says, and CIYCL, the father, says, zu lieb dir ist mein Sohn gestorben. And Herschel Dubrovner, who was once a scribe and so pious, who is now the boss of a sweatshop, says, CIYCL, hab noch halb Rachmanis auf mir, ich bet dir. And CIYCL says, du hast gehad an alten Taten, hast du auf ihm Rachmanis gehad, hast gehad Rachmanis gehad auf dein Weib, hast Rachmanis gehad auf dein jung Weib, welches durch dir geworden wie ein Zermischte. Durch mir? Ja, durch dir. Hast Rachmanis gehad auf deinen Chaber, deinen besten Freund und seine Kinder. In der Zeit, wenn du sitzt da und du zählst Geld, liegt bei mir ein Stubat Teuter, welcher ist durch dein Geld der Harge gewonnen. Du hast versprochen, dem ganzen Städtel glücklich machen mit deiner Fabrik. Und du hast uns allen begaselt und glücklich gemacht. Der Herschel Dubrovner hast gespielt eine Komödie mit Gott, hast gesucht nach ehrlicher Arbeit, hast gemacht Talesing für die Drieden. Na, seh, und hast du der Talis, was mein Sohn hat gebotet. Er ist gestorben mit der Talis, was er gemacht in Weinfabrik. Na! And he throws it at him. And he says, mein Sohn hat übergeführt, der Talis. Schreib es auf mein Cheshbon. There's nothing left for Herschel to do. He's bankrupt. He takes the bloody talus, he wraps it around his neck, and he hangs himself from the safe. Can you imagine the scene that created in the Lower East Side? This truly is a play where suddenly the injustices of people who make their living off of the blood and the sweat of others, and the people in the Lower East Side understood that. And that's why the unions grew there. You will have to give accounts with me, your worker. You'll have to render a reckoning before us. Once I was your brother, now I'm your enemy. Once I was your friend, now I'm your slave. Once, before writing God's name, you washed your hands with water. Now you wash them in our blood, the blood of our young, innocent children. You had an old father. Did you show him pity? Did you have pity on your wife? Did you show pity to that poor young thing who lost her mind because of you, of me? This wonderful translation was done by Herschel Harden. Yes, because of you. Did you pity your best friend and his children? While you sit here counting money, there's a corpse lying in my house that was killed by your money. You promised that you'd bring joy to the whole town with your factory, but you robbed us all. You brought us disaster. Herschel Dubrovner, you've been playing God for a fool. You kept looking for holy work. You manufactured talesing, prayer shawls for Jews. Here, look. And he holds up the bloody prayer shawl and then he throws it at me. Gordon's great accomplishment was the role that he played in transforming Yiddish theater. He suddenly made the intellectual elite feel that theater in the Yiddish language could be their concern and even their pride. Nama Sandro tells us that theater's quality rose because of him, not only in America, but in Europe, because in Europa haben alle große Aktionen, große Theatern gespielt worden. Esther Rochel Kaminski's Gewinn, äußer gewöhnlich in Mirela Efres. Gordon's plays were played all over. A poster from the Warsaw Yiddish National Theater. In the 80s, I was there and I got it. Gott Menschen Teufel. Every poster from Poland is expressive of what the play is all about. Jacob Gordon introduced into the Yiddish theater the well-made realistic play. What's the difference between a well-made realistic play and a schmata, as Yankel says in his wife's lover? The difference is that events and characters are connected so that it all is logical. It all has to be logical, not the policeman appears all of a sudden. Gordon had seen Zola and Ibsen, and he was well-traveled. What is important is that the general public, not only the intellectuals, were ready for more ambitious, serious theater. They were beginning to feel at home in theater generally. And Jacob Gordon, teacher, leader, fighter, had taken the greatest possible subject for his theater, the audience itself. Jacob Gordon plays meant more to Adler, the actor, and than any triumphant performance. With his plays, the Yiddish theater, speaking in its own voice, touched at last the universal. For Adler was the moment of light, the great fulfillment. With Gordon's plays, he had come, together with his theater, out of sea into truth. Wonder of wonders, overnight a mass audience was created, an audience of workers and intellectuals, social women of every class. The new stage. There were comedies by Sholem Aleichem. The powerful dramas of Sholem Aleichem were staged downtown, including wonderful translations of Tolstoy and Gorky and Ibsen. It was repertory superior to anything on Broadway of that time. The whole profession caught fire. Good theater could apparently make it. They made it. Morris Schwartz of Yiddish Art Theater, they made it for 30 years. But they made it. And there were so many other wonderful art theaters. Every actor wanted to play Gordon, to play the classics. And the people came. They had seen the best, and now they would accept nothing less. And a new epoch began in Yiddish theater. It went from melodrama to realism to great art theaters in Yiddish all over the world. Ashenen Danke. Ob ihr hat Gelegenheit, und es ist du, ein Yiddish Theater, geht, kauft aber jetzt, geht, ein Yiddish Theater. Er sah rauf auf der Bühne und hat gesagt, wer hat eine Frage, ich habe einen Entfer. I don't know if I'll have an Entfer, aber ob ihr hat eine Frage. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. One, you said something about Yiddish theater here. I know there's the West Coast.
So, you know, a theater that does perform Yiddish material. In general, go to the theater. Yes,
You mentioned somebody coming backstage to see Schwartz after a performance of,
not Schwartz, Adler.
no, Schwartz. Georgie Kaufman, producer from New York, uptown New York, came back to see Laura Schwartz in Shylock. And he said, "You must bring this up to Broadway." And Schwartz looked at him and said, sadly, "Georgie, this will never play in English."
That's our joke.
It is. Shylock is English.
Because he didn't play Shylock, he played Shylock's Tester. Es ist gewesen übergemacht auf mir Pjesse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
The other question I had from earlier in your wonderful, wonderful presentation had to do with, you said that that Ibsen's Dollhouse played in the U.S. in Yiddish before it was shown generally. And my question was, what was it translated from?
from English, I don't think they knew Norwegian.
I was just wondering what.
Because obviously Ibsen wrote in Norwegian.
Yeah.
I think they must have translated it from the English. Of course, there was a big tumult why she left the 3 children. And I think they were telling, people said, wenn man spielt es in Yiddish, darf man machen ein neues Ende. She has no right to leave her 3 children.
Yeah, right.
A schönen Dank.